Alrighty, welcome back everybody to our latest live stream. I hope everybody's having a good evening thus far. We are going to be doing obviously some updates here on Tropical Storm Beryl. It was at one point a Category 5 hurricane, and it is still going to be a system that is going to definitely bring some problems here to areas like Texas over the next really several days here. We are expecting the potential for significant storm surge, flooding, rains, and the potential even for maybe a tornado outbreak. So a lot of things are going to be possible here over the next several days, and so in today's stream we are going to be going over every single possibility for you, kind of giving you an idea of where I think it'll be making landfall, what kind of impacts are also to be expected in both Texas, perhaps even areas like Louisiana, and a few other areas as well like Mexico. And also I just want to mention right off the bat, this is a live stream that is both on YouTube and Facebook. Facebook is North Texas Weather Center, YouTube is Max Velocity. You can go to our YouTube page if you want. If you're on Facebook, the link is going to be in the description. So we're going to be doing a dual live stream here. We'll be answering some questions near the end. This should not be a really long stream, maybe like an hour update or so. So if you do have questions, we'll have honestly plenty of time for it, I think, because this update should take about 15 minutes or so at most. All right, we're going to begin with where currently Tropical Storm Beryl is currently located, and obviously it is a tropical storm, no longer a hurricane. You'll notice it does not look impressive whatsoever. You actually cannot see much of the convection out of near the eye of this particular tropical storm right now. Sustained winds have dropped off quite a bit after going over the Yucatan Peninsula. Sustained winds have dropped down to 65 miles per hour, so it is a much weaker system at this point, but that doesn't mean it can't re-intensify in the Gulf of Mexico, which we're going to talk about here in a moment. Wind gusts are up near 75 miles per hour. The pressure is up to 994 millibars, so again, obviously it's not as strong as it once was, but as I mentioned before, this does have a potential to strengthen as it heads towards Texas. It made landfall very early this morning back over south of Cancun. There was some storm surge, some hurricane force winds, but overall for storm chasers that were in the area, they said it was pretty underwhelming. There was actually not a whole lot that happened over near like Playa del Carmen, for example, which is good news overall. It doesn't seem like it was as intense at landfall as initially thought, at least by a lot of storm chasers, so that's good news. There was some storm surge, but overall, again, it was not super significant. This is, again, what Beryl looks like right now. We still have some convection off to the north. It does look pretty deceiving. Obviously, it does not look as impressive as before. We had a lot of dark reds, and even at times, black and white color showing up, which indicates very cold cloud tops aloft. We really don't have that anymore. Our eye is going to be located right about north here of now the Yucatan Peninsula. Tropical Storm Beryl is back in the Gulf of Mexico pretty early, by the way. It wasn't expected to enter back into the Gulf of Mexico until about Saturday morning, so this is well ahead of schedule, which makes this a bit more concerning over the next few days, as we are expecting this particular storm to go towards Texas. And we've been mentioning this possibility, by the way, for 5+ days now. Ever since this got to the Windward Islands, I really thought that this would be what ends up happening, because simply history shows that we always have some sort of sharp turn, especially with strong hurricanes, and this one is no exception at this point. Beryl has stayed well to the north of its initial forecasted path. You can actually kind of see as we go throughout the last several days, it has not really turned to the west as forecasted. It just continues to move to the west-northwest. So unfortunately, it does look like we could be looking at a quote-unquote worst-case scenario. I'm not saying this is going to be a Category 5 hurricane, but in this particular case, you know, this is not going to be a small little hurricane. Even if it's only a Category 1 or 2 on landfall, it's going to be bringing some major impacts to Texas, and we'll talk more about why here in just a few minutes. Here's the current forecast from the National Hurricane Center. As you'll notice here, again, we have a lot of areas here over the next really 24 hours that are only going to be seeing tropical storm conditions, and this is what we're looking at here for the next 24 hours or so. It should remain a tropical storm until tomorrow night. I wouldn't honestly be surprised, though. This could could at least start to intensify as it moves into parts of the southwestern Gulf of Mexico as we go into late tomorrow evening. So a Category 1 hurricane by late tomorrow night would not shock me. It is over cold waters right now. It's actually a bit colder where it is right now, so it's not going to intensify really tonight, but it could tomorrow as it moves into a bit more of a favorable environment. By Sunday, this is expected to become a Category 1 hurricane, so that'll be really the latest that this becomes a hurricane. And as this moves off to the north and northwest towards areas like Texas, there are a few things that could happen. One of which is that this goes right into Mexico, which is an extremely low chance at this point. We don't think this is going to be making landfall in Mexico, at least least I don't think this will be making landfall in Mexico. The second scenario is what the National Hurricane Center forecast currently is, which is that this is a category 1 or 2 hurricane moving into parts of Texas, predominantly near Corpus Christi. I honestly don't think this is going to happen either. I still have a very strong, at least suspicion here, that this is going to continue to turn off to the north and even potentially northeast and go towards Houston. Now, at this point, it's still something that could go anywhere, though. Obviously, the cone of uncertainty is very large for a reason. We could see the eye of this particular tropical storm, which is going to be a hurricane, go anywhere in the red area that is present here on the map. And the National Hurricane Center will have another update in about an hour and 30 minutes to probably correct at least some of this cone. But you'll notice this area is really big, and we could see this hurricane go anywhere. Worst case scenario is that it takes the most easterly path here on this really right edge of the cone of uncertainty, because it'll be over open, ocean waters for a longer period of time. And the ocean waters are pretty warm out here in the Gulf of Mexico, aside from where Tropical Storm Beryl is currently. So that is a big concern right now. And if that does happen, this could easily become a Category 2 hurricane. It could easily get to a Category 3 hurricane if it does undergo rapid intensification, which Tropical Storm Beryl, when it was a hurricane, it really attempted that 3 or 4 times. Like, this isn't something that just did it once. It did it a ton of times where it tried to rapidly intensify. Only had success a few times, but obviously this is something that has a history of doing so, and I would not be surprised if something like that happens as this heads towards the state of Texas. All right, we're going to go into the next segment here. I'm going to kind of give you an idea of the forecast and stuff. Obviously, I've been on a tangent here for 6 minutes just on this graphic. Let's go ahead and pull up the, to begin with, we're going to begin with the RAM slider. This is the geocolor imagery here this evening across parts of the Gulf of Mexico. It should be able to actually load here in a second, so let me try to load this up real quick. All right, here we go. Hopefully the frames come through here. All right, there you go. So this is what Beryl looks like right now, and you'll notice it actually still has a really impressive spin. Obviously, the infrared imagery only shows you so much because right now there's not much convection near the eye of this particular tropical storm now, but this is where Beryl is currently located. So again, just north of the Yucatan Peninsula, some big convective activity actually on the very northern side of this tropical storm. That's in the outer band. So we have a few big thunderstorms blowing up there right now. That's at least giving an indication that there is definitely some energy out here in the Gulf of Mexico, even despite it being in very cold ocean waters at this time. It will start to move in a much warmer environment here over the next 24 hours. So we just talked about this. I'm not going to talk about it again really up until we have questions. So again, this is the cone of uncertainty where Tropical Storm Beryl is currently forecasted to go. Just a couple of quick notes though. This is moving west-northwest at 15 miles per hour. So this is a system right now that is slowing down. Initially, this particular, when it was a hurricane, it was moving upwards of 20 to 22 miles per hour to the west. It's now only moving 15 miles per hour to the west-northwest. That's an important key characteristic here because as this moves towards Texas, I do think this is going to slow down in the state of Texas, which could lead to a more robust flooding concern across the state of Texas and perhaps even Louisiana, Arkansas, and maybe even Tennessee. This could actually last for several days. So we'll talk more about that in a second. In addition to that, we do currently have hurricane watches in effect for a large chunk of the Texas coastline and a small sliver there of the Mexico coastline as well. That does not include Houston yet, but I do think Houston will probably be added sometime tomorrow morning. Now, we already have a storm surge forecast from the National Hurricane Center. This is a little bit early, but it's granted with where we're at right now with this particular tropical storm. When it's going to be a hurricane, storm surge is a given, and unfortunately, we are going to be talking about upwards of 5 feet of storm surge anywhere between Sargent in Texas back towards the mouth of the Rio Grande. Now, in this particular case, this could increase depending on the track of Beryl. If it goes further to the north and east, the storm surge will be worse back over near like Houston, for example. But for the time being, if it does make landfall near like Sargent, for example, we'll at least be looking at 3 to 5 feet of storm surge here, or even near Corpus Christi. Corpus Christi, if it makes landfall there, this is a more realistic forecast. If this makes landfall further to the north and east, these numbers will probably actually be lower, as you'll be getting a more inland wind comparatively to a wind that's coming off the sea. And we actually saw that with Ian, by the way. When Hurricane Ian happened back over in Florida, back, I believe it was last year. I have a horrible concept at the time, but when Ian happened, we ended up having, actually, in Tampa Bay, the inland wind push all that water out of the bay. And then after that, we actually started to see all the water really stream into, like, areas like, I think it was Coral Springs or wherever south of Tampa. I have a horrible memory. But back down there, we had a massive storm surge. And then in the Tampa Bay area, it actually all drained out because of the location of Ian. And that's because of the inland wind. So just kind of letting you know. So just a little comparison there. Ian, by the way, was way worse than I think what this will actually be. This is what the infrared imagery looks like right now here in the southwestern Yucatan Peninsula. So again, big thunderstorms blowing up here. And then again, we have a few storms that are trying to blow up here in the southwestern Gulf just north of the Yucatan. But again, I don't think this is going to intensify much until we get later into the day tomorrow. Now, the computer models last night, this is what last night looked like. Again, they were really showing that this is going to make landfall in South Texas or northern Mexico, but then Hurricane Beryl, when it was a hurricane, started to wobble a little bit from south to north, and that has now led to these models going way further to the north. And you'll see the difference here. I mean, this is a massive difference from yesterday to today. Almost every model is in the same agreement in the latest runs, which is actually crazy to think that yesterday they were all showing this going off to the, northwest here, and then after that it was a big question mark. But these were way further down to the south. Now, almost every model is showing this making landfall somewhere between Corpus Christi back towards Houston. Again, my personal forecast here is that I do think this is going to make landfall somewhere near Houston or Galveston. I don't think this is going to make landfall down near Brownsville, for example. It could make landfall near Corpus Christi as well, but I still think this is going to probably make landfall a bit further to the north as it does continue to wobble. Nonetheless, hurricane-force winds, storm surge, a potential for a tornado outbreak will all exist. Now, if this exact scenario here does end up panning out, we will probably end up having some sort of tornado outbreak on Monday across parts of East Texas, western and central Louisiana, and perhaps even into southern Arkansas. But it's also going to depend on the speed of Beryl. If this is a very fast-moving storm, it'll probably be going all the way up into Arkansas on Monday. If it's slow-moving, it'll be mostly condensed to southeast Texas and southwestern parts of Louisiana. All right, let me drink water again. Stormrunner Media wants to be a mod? Okay, I'll make you a mod. 1 second. I have not talked this much in literally almost 3 days. I was at Disney, I was screaming, and I have almost lost my voice, so I am trying to, like... I have to drink a little bit of water. I actually almost lost my voice over the last 2 days. It's kind of crazy. All right, here's the ensembles. So again, another way to look at computer models and all that sort of stuff. Again, still a pretty wide spread on the ensembles, but a lot of them have become in agreement of making landfall again in Texas. And this basically goes with the National Hurricane Center's cone of uncertainty. Notice the further east it goes, the lower pressure there is that's being indicated by these models, meaning that it would be more than likely a stronger hurricane. So that is something to, again, keep in mind. Rapid intensification is a higher likelihood if we do end up seeing this go further to the east towards areas like Houston, for example. Here's the model intensity over the last run. I don't know if the 0-0... All right, there we go. Well, the 0-0Z model run's actually in. Let's check this out real quick. I didn't know it actually updated already. Here's the latest run, and I think this is actually... All right, we're going to do a quick investigation here. I'm pretty sure these models have actually shifted even further to the east. Again, it's only a handful of computer models. It's not all of them. Let me just quickly go to Tropical Tidbits. Let's go to this. Let's go to 18Z. I should have kept that up. Yeah, a little bit. So here's the latest runs. These actually just came in on this set of computer models. Again, there's a lot of computer models that are out there, and so this is just a handful of them. But these are some of the ones that we've been looking at for the last several days, and it actually is becoming more in unison that we are going to get a northerly turn somewhere between Houston and Corpus Christi. And again, a high likelihood right now of this making landfall in Corpus Christi at this point. This is actually kind of shocking, though. I mean, all the computer models right now are in extreme unison right now about making landfall between Houston and Corpus Christi about 60 hours from now. And again, rapid intensification could happen starting as late as, or as early, I should say, as Sunday morning back over to the south of Houston by quite a ways. Obviously, this would still be in the western Gulf of Mexico, but definitely interesting. This is a trend that we are going to be watching, obviously, for very closely over the next couple days, because if this does really move fast here over land, which is a possibility, we'll be looking at less of a flooding threat, and the tornado risk would actually start to carry more to the northeast. If it goes slower, which is what a lot of models have been showing, this could be a big flooding event for South Texas. All right, well, back to the intensity guide, and this is again from the various computer models that we've been looking at. Most models do not bring this much above a tropical storm. I do want to mention again that I would not be surprised if this goes crazy and we get rapid intensification and it goes to a category 2 or 3 hurricane by early Monday morning. It's still a possibility. I know almost no models are showing that, or actually none of them on here are showing that, but a lot of other models that are not shown on here are showing that. European model's been showing that. We've had the HWRF model showing that. Those are pretty reliable models in a lot of cases, so just something to keep in mind there. All right, so we got a few more models to show you, and then I'll answer questions because I'm probably gonna lose my voice at some point. Here's what we're looking at for the future radar on the European model, and the European model still has this making landfall actually further to the north and east now. Initially, this had it making landfall back over in Mexico yesterday, and now today it has shifted a lot more to the east, which is to be expected with how far north Beryl is currently in adjacent to where it was forecasted to go. So by Monday morning, the European model has this making landfall around Corpus Christi as a stronger hurricane around a category 2, maybe even a low-end category 3, and then has it quickly moving off to the north and east as we go into Tuesday into Wednesday. I'm actually going to go ahead and go over to this screen. Let's flop to here. Nope, not that one. Or maybe it is that one. Nope, it was that one. Give me 1 second. I'm going to make this more full screen so it doesn't look as ugly. Let's go back to here. All right, so this looks better. All right. This is what we're looking at in the southern plains as we go into Sunday night into Monday morning. We probably won't see anything really in Texas until late Sunday night for at least major impacts inland. So overall, this will start to make landfall again, probably between Corpus Christi and Houston as we go into Monday morning. Keep in mind, again, it could make any landfall anywhere in the cone of uncertainty, but it's a pretty high likelihood it'll make landfall between the 2 locations I just mentioned. By Monday afternoon, this moves inland. We'll be watching for the potential for several tornadoes between East Texas and Western Louisiana. As long as this does maintain hurricane intensity, I do think that is going to be a strong likelihood. We'll have lots of storms coming right off the coast, and those will be rotating, producing the potential for tornadoes. And again, that'll be in the outer bands, not the inner bands. Usually outer bands of hurricanes bring the potential for tornadoes. Once we go into late Monday night to Tuesday, this shifts up to closer to areas like Arkansas, and we'll eventually see some pretty heavy rainfall going across Arkansas, Tennessee, southeast Missouri, and western Kentucky for both Tuesday and Wednesday, where flooding could be a concern. The European model currently has the highest wind going through areas like Houston, wind gusts upwards of 60 to 80 miles per hour, and we very easily could see those numbers much higher upon landfall near Galveston. If it makes landfall there, this could easily get upwards of 100 mile per hour wind gusts. Now, in terms of total rainfall accumulation, the European model has a lot of rain really falling across East Texas, and notice DFW, and I know a lot of people right now on Facebook are watching from North Texas as we are dual live streaming to both Facebook and YouTube, just letting you know. North Texas could get entirely missed, or we could see a lot of rain. It's going to depend on the track of Hurricane Beryl. So again, this could very easily, if the eye goes in the direction that is currently being forecasted, areas like North Texas might not get really anything out of this. And this happens a lot whenever we have a ridge over in Florida or even just east of Florida, because what we're going to eventually see is that likely Beryl is going to start to get caught onto either the ridge or even the troughing that's going to be back over here to the north, and that jet stream could pull this low pressure system to the north and east, and we might not see like any rain in DFW. Now, one thing that's going to be more concerning is where this goes. If it goes towards Dallas, Fort Worth, we could be talking about a substantial flooding risk. If it goes into East Texas, that's where this substantial rain threat will be, with a widespread 3 to 7 inches of rainfall with isolated locations over 12 inches of rainfall, especially along the immediate coastline. Now, the Icon model, which has been pretty consistent thus far, it's actually showed the same sort of results for days now. It has it making landfall near Houston as we go into early Monday morning, probably around 3 or 6 a.m. Eventually moves to the northeast, and the Icon model actually has this moving way faster than the European model, meaning that overall flooding rainfall would not be nearly as significant, but it would still be significant to an extent. Notice as we go into Monday afternoon and evening, the Icon model has this moving well inland as a tropical storm, possibly as far north as Arkansas. I don't think this is going to happen, but it is not impossible if it goes fast enough. Once we go into Tuesday morning, this moves into areas like Missouri, Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio, where rain would be possible out of this if it moves that fast. Another thing that's a big question mark right now is the speed of how fast Beryl will be going. So the faster it goes, the again, less rainfall there will be for many areas, but it also could make more impacts to areas like the Ohio Valley, maybe some sort of tornado risk associated with that. So in terms of total total rainfall accumulation, this is from the icon model. Again, it still brings a hefty amount of rain for a lot of areas. And again, if this does happen, this could also be a pretty significant flooding event anywhere from Houston back even into Arkansas and even up to Missouri, which Missouri is not an area that you would think would get impacted much by this. But if it does track in the direction that it's currently forecasted to go, and it goes slow enough or even just dumps enough rain, we could easily see those numbers verify back up there to the north. The last model I'm going to show you is the GFS model, and the GFS model right now has this kind of spinning closer to Corpus Christi. This would be a worst case scenario for Corpus Christi in comparison to Houston. We would still be seeing some significant storm surge on the eastern side of this hurricane, as we again have a wind that's going from the ocean waters and then going into areas like Houston and Galveston, and that is where we could see some significant storm surge on Monday if this does end up verifying. And also the potential for flooding. Rains would actually be further to the west, and if this happens, then we actually might see rain in Dallas-Fort Worth. So notice the GFS model brings this Monday night to Tuesday morning to DFW, and this is really the only model right now that I've actually seen bringing rain into Dallas-Fort Worth, and then it kind of fizzles out as we go into late Tuesday, as it is going to be very slow moving, and then that would just be the remnants of Beryl. So notice the rainfall accumulation with this is actually further to the west than the other models, and then Dallas-Fort Worth, if this happens, we actually could see upwards of 3 to 7 inches of rain on the eastern side of Dallas-Fort Worth. So really kind of crazy stuff all around if that happens. And obviously I know a lot of you guys are watching from Dallas-Fort Worth right now. This would be best case scenario if you want the temperatures to be under 90 degrees for several days and also seeing a lot of rain. But obviously this could bring flooding concerns as well, since the soil and whatnot has been drying out quite a bit here recently. So again, there are a couple scenarios that we can end up seeing playing out. This is one of them. We got 3 different scenarios that I kind of showed you. I think all 3 have a lot of merit to them. The GFS model has it kind of fizzling out as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday. Icon model brings this all the way up into Ohio. Let's actually look at the Icon model one more time. The Icon model brings this really far to the north. Let's go Ohio Valley real quick. This goes like crazy off to the north here. Look at this. So this is going into Tuesday. It has it as an organized trough into Tuesday afternoon. This could low-key be a tropical depression as far north as Indiana, according to the Icon model, which would be absolutely absurd. And then it goes into the Great Lakes, which, again, I don't think this will be a hurricane in the Great Lakes, but, the Icon model does some funky things here. Still keeps it as a pretty organized trough all the way through, Wednesday, so again, that's another scenario, but those are the various scenarios that we could end up having unfold here over the next several days. And again, we'll have multiple live coverages on Hurricane Beryl, including live updates over the next few days. So if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Again, right side of the screen, that's the infrared imagery in the current cone, and we also have it in the middle of your screen right now. All right, we'll be answering some questions, and again, it will probably only be about an hour stream, so we got like 40 minutes left because my voice is parched. So I have not talked this much again in like 2 days, so my voice is kind of going. All right, thank you, Conan, for becoming a member for 4 months. Not a Texas hurricane. We've low-key been saying this, though, for literally, like, 5 days now. And I think anybody that's watched our updates throughout the last week or so would know that. We've literally been saying this for 5 days. And I didn't say it was a guarantee Texas would see landfall. But honestly, like, the pieces of the puzzle have been coming together ever since this became a Category 5 hurricane. And I honestly thought this would go towards Texas. Like, I had almost no doubt. I just didn't want to say it's 100% going to go towards Texas because it could change. But, with hurricanes that have been this intense, over the last several years now, we almost always see it turn to the right, and usually we see a hurricane wobble to the right when they're at least more intense. We saw it with Dorian back in 2019, which was a bit of a different scenario, but it literally stalled in the Bahamas, and then it kind of just went up the coast, and it ended up going further right than forecasted. We saw that, I believe, with Hurricane Laura as well. Ian did the same thing. I mean, like, every single major hurricane that we've had recently, I felt like has done the same thing. So, I just kind of used my intuition, and I really thought this would go towards Texas, and it looks like so far this is at least expected to make landfall in Texas. Obviously, the cone of uncertainty still includes Mexico and Louisiana, but I still don't think we have landfall in those areas. At least I think it's a low chance at this point of there being landfall in those areas. Thank you, Winding Creek, by the way, for the 5 get to members. If you got to get to membership, make sure to thank Winding Creek in the chat. Thank you, Connor. I almost said Conan again. Thank you, Connor, for the $9.99. How will this hurricane impact our golf match? If we golf in Texas, that would be insane during the hurricane. I doubt any golf courses would be open for that, but imagine the wind. I actually played a round of golf when it was Hurricane Nicole. The day before Hurricane Nicole made landfall, I'm pretty sure I played a match, golf match, same thing. And the wind was like 30 to 40 miles per hour. Like, even off the ground, it was crazy. Like, hitting into that wind is so hard, and then hitting with it is like you get like an extra 50 yards. It's actually pretty crazy to play when there's really strong winds, especially aloft too. I mean, you know, when you hit the ball high enough, you know, even like 100 feet off the ground, the wind's gonna be like at least 20% stronger than it is at the ground. So it actually can be pretty crazy. Thank you, WH, for the 199. North mass that broke off. Where is it heading? It's just some convective activity. It's really just the outer bands of Beryl. This is in a bit more of a favorable atmosphere than where the center of Beryl is currently, which is again on the north line of this cone of uncertainty. So that convective activity that you're seeing there, yes, it's an indication of at least some intensification, but really not much, because all that is just outer band. If we see that in the inner bands, like actually near the eye wall, that is where we'd be looking for intensification. Up there, I mean, there's at least indication that the ocean waters are at least warm, and that convection can actually boil around a center of low pressure system like this that's tropical, but it's not an indication really of intensification, and it should just kind of meander around the low. It's not going to go like flying off into its own hurricane. That would be crazy, but we don't really see splitting hurricanes. It's not really something that happens, at least what I know. I've never seen one actually happen. Thank you, Leah, for the 5 gifted members. I appreciate that. And put some hearts in the chat for Leah, and as well as Winding Creek for the 5 gifted. Thank you, Gaming, for the 1 gifted. Storminer Media says, I want to be a mod. Thank you for the $9.99. Appreciate that. Didn't have to super chat. You could have just messaged me on Twitter. I would have probably saw it. Thank you, Amanda and Gaming Nun, for both becoming members. Thank you, Double, for the $2 super chat. Would the Memphis area have a tornado risk? Well, it's going to depend on the track of this hurricane. If it tracks more in the direction like the Icon model is showing, or even the European model, I could see a tornado risk existing for several days, beginning as early as late Sunday night into Monday morning across Texas, Louisiana, and possibly even western Mississippi and southern Arkansas. Tuesday could shift further to the north, but it's a big question mark on how fast this moves now, because if it moves faster, we could see this threat go all the way into the Ohio Valley. If it moves slower, like the GFS model showing, and it kind of stalls out, then I only think the tornado risk will be kind of condensed into here. Again, hurricanes and tropical storms in general are super hard to forecast when it comes to a tornado risk beyond 3 days out, because the track matters a lot in comparison to where we could see tornadoes. So, you know, beyond 3 days, it's actually really hard to forecast something like this. It's a different scale. And again, tropical storms and hurricanes, they meander a lot more. They have a lot more movement than a normal trough would have. And again, when we have like a trough coming out of like the Rocky Mountains, for example, we're going to end up having different ingredients like instability, hodographs, like all that stuff. Now, obviously, there's going to be instability in hodographs with something like this too, where we have spin throughout the atmosphere. But it's a different breed. It's not being controlled by the jet stream or anything like that up until it gets actually to the United States. So tornado risk, it's hard to tell, but I do think we're going to have a potential for a tornado outbreak as long as this does make landfall as a hurricane, and that'll probably be, at least for day 1, which would be Monday, would probably be over here in East and Southeast Texas and Western and Southwestern Louisiana. Day 2, day 3 for this particular hurricane making landfall, it will be very questionable in my opinion. Thank you, Karen, as well, for the super chat. Thank you, Amanda, for becoming a member. And also, speaking of tornadoes, again, you know, as we go into Tuesday, and as well as Wednesday, like, again, this tornado risk will probably gradually move further to the north. But we'll probably know more about the tornado risk on, like, Tuesday and Wednesday by Sunday. So we should have an idea by Sunday. Thank you, Brandon, for the $199. The hurricane is definitely heading towards me. I mean, this thing's been moving north, like, forever now. Let's go back 100 frames here. I want to go back a little bit in time. It's been pretty crazy. This thing's been meandering to the north. Like, you'll actually see it if we go back far enough. I'm going to go back a little bit here. You won't be able to see the cone of uncertainty in real time, but this thing, like, the eye has actually been like slightly shifting north over time, which is pretty crazy. You actually can see that again in real time here. It's been going west-northwest this entire time. The forecast was that this was supposed to go west, and it just hasn't. It's gone really west-northwest the entire time, which is really unfortunate because it keeps wobbling more to the east, which is technically, or right, I should say, which is technically north. And as long as it stays in open Gulf of Mexico waters like this, which it already is, but once it gets further off to the northwest into a more favorable environment with lower shear and warmer waters, it's going to probably explode again. And rapid intensification would be very possible. The National Hurricane Center, again, has a pretty conservative landfall, wind speed of 90 miles per hour, but I could see this easily going to 100, 110, depending on what happens really over the next 12 hours or so with computer model guidance and also what's happening actually with Beryl in real time. You Plasmic for the $5 super chat. How's Conroe, Texas looking? It's pretty far inland. Let's see. I would honestly say if Hurricane Beryl makes landfall anywhere in here, I would expect a pretty big flooding risk for that area. Now, granted, we're still a few days out. The track could change, but I would be at least expecting 3 to 7 inches of rainfall, and then maybe an isolated tornado risk. If this does go further to the west, I could at least see a couple tornadoes being possible in your area. Further east it goes, the lesser tornado risk there would be, because the outer bands, when it comes to a tornado risk, it's going to really favor the northern and eastern side of a hurricane. So again, if it goes towards Houston, I think our tornado risk will be actually higher over here. If it goes further to the west towards, like, you know, Corpus Christi, I could see the tornado risk being closer to areas like Houston. So it's going to heavily, again, depend on that track as well. But I would expect flooding to be the main concern. Tropical storm force winds. Hurricane force winds don't usually go that far to the north unless we're talking about a major hurricane, which is possible. But again, it's still a little bit early to say that this is definitely going to become a major hurricane. Rapid intensification with this is not as likely as it was when it went to the Windward Islands. It's not the same sort of environment. And, you know, yeah, that's at least what I'm thinking. Thank you, Brad, for the $2 super chat. What U.S. steering currents will be affecting it? Well, there's a couple things. You got the high pressure system back over here to the east, or you can't even see it on the screen. Let me zoom out a little bit. We're gonna zoom out fully here so you can see both features. So we got a high pressure system, and that's gonna kind of spin it up here to the north. It won't go like that, but it'll kind of go bowing out, and it'll probably come back in from the high pressure system. We also have a troughing feature that's in a jet stream that's actually gonna probably suck this thing up basically as it moves to the north and northeast, and that could really speed this up a lot. But also, if the jet stream goes too fast, we actually could just see this stall out here in Texas, which is kind of what the GFS model was kind of hinting at. One of the worst things that could happen is that this jet stream dips down and we have the right exit region when this comes in, the right exit region, and we actually could end up seeing this produce a tornado outbreak for at least a couple days if something like that happens. We just have a crazy environment if that happens, if the jet stream kind of catches up with this, but again, it's a possibility. It's kind of a long-term possibility that we still don't know if that'll even happen. So thank you, Vex, for the $20 super chat. Appreciate the generosity. How do hurricanes get such low pressure like Hurricane Wilma? I mean, it just depends on how long it's over open ocean waters and how quickly it intensifies. If we have multiple instances of rapid intensification, pressure can drop quite a bit. We actually saw Hurricane Beryl when it was over here to the east of Cancun. It briefly intensified back to a Category 3 hurricane. The pressure actually dropped to about 12 millibars, so it rapidly intensified in like 2 or 3 hours, and then it actually went back to being just a Category 2 hurricane. The wind speed didn't really increase. Pressure is not always the key, though, with hurricanes, because we can sometimes see pressure could be like 962 like this, for example, and produce the same wind speed as 974. So because this was about actually 971 here. It was 974 back to the east of when it was a Category 3. So pressure drops don't always indicate a massive increase of wind. I mean, the wind increased 6 miles per hour with a pressure drop of 12 millibars. Back over here near like Bridgetown and the Lesser Antilles, we went from 965 to 957. I mean, let me see. Let's see if we can compare this. About 960, all right, so this is pretty close. 962, 960, that's the difference. We had over 22 mile per hour difference of wind speeds, and this was a Category 4, so pressure does not matter as much. So, And also, pressure can actually sometimes be a lot higher. It's actually usually a lot higher as we go further up into the northern hemisphere. So that's also something to keep in mind. There's a factor with that too, because we can sometimes see the pressure pretty high, like, you know, for example, south of Greenland. And if the pressure is higher over there, it doesn't always mean it's like an intense hurricane. Like we've seen, you know, I can't remember the name of the hurricane last year that was hyped up like crazy. It was like a category 5. It didn't actually go really anywhere towards the United States, but the pressure was pretty low all the way up to like Nova Scotia. But the wind speeds just dropped. And again, it's more to do with the ocean waters, too. Being much colder up there, too. It just kind of weakened it out. Thank you, Nice, for the $19.99. Thank you, Sailing Sky, for the $20 super chat. What's the gritty goal for tonight? We'll do 10 more members, because this stream will be shorter. So 25 members total. We already have 15. If we get to 25, I'll do it. Thank you, Tony, for the maximum velocity member. Welcome to the Velocities. I do not expect tornado... Or did you see the likely tornado in New Mexico? Actually, I did. Was that near Las Vegas? I saw a photo of that on Twitter. Somebody, I think, added it to me. Thank you, DK, for becoming a 21-month VIP Velocity member. That is crazy. I appreciate the generosity. Thank you, Joe, for the $4.99. Cooler surface temperatures or shear? Definitely shear. I mean, if something factors into Beryl, it would be shear. Because the ocean waters, they're already in the mid-80s, like, everywhere. There's just a small pocket of colder water off the Yucatan Peninsula that's keeping it weaker right now. So, actually, it probably will intensify no matter what. I don't think the wind shear is going to kill this thing, really. There will be some wind shear, but it probably won't be enough to weaken this at all. I mean, again, it could grow in size over the next day. We actually saw less wind shear than forecasted in the Western Caribbean. But... again, it really could go either way. We could still see some wind shear grow or shrink. If it shrinks more and we have less wind shear overall in nature, like less than 10 knots of wind shear, we're probably going to see this as a stronger hurricane. It'll at least have an opportunity for rapid intensification. Thank you, Ray, for becoming a member. Thank you, Sailing the Sky, for the 10 gifted members. I guess we're doing a gritty today. Yippee. Alright, back to actual chat. Hey, Wild Child, for also the 10 gifted members. Wow. 2 10 gifted members at the same time. Put some hearts in the chat for both Wild Child and Sailing the Sky. Appreciate the generosity. How do you think San Antonio will be affected? You could either see a lot of rainfall or hardly any, and you'll at least probably have some tropical storm force winds. But again, the center and east side of wherever this eye goes is where the bulk of the rain is going to fall. It's not going to usually fall on the west side unless it's near landfall. So I don't think San Antonio is going to see anything absurd unless the eye goes towards San Antonio. You think Beryl will be the last category 5 of the year? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. I really don't. I think we'll at least have another one. When you estimate Beryl will die soon or stop permanently, it'll probably die out after Wednesday. This is not going to last past Wednesday. If it does, I'm going to need like a 25-week vacation, because like I was really hoping that this would move pretty fast inland and we'd be done with coverage by Monday or Tuesday. This might slow down and we might have coverage all the way until Wednesday. Because after, I mean, it's going to make landfall Monday, more than likely, in the morning. But we could low-key see this as a tornado threat up until Wednesday across parts of the lower Mississippi Valley. So we might have multiple live streams on this even past Monday. You're going to stream for landfall? I'm planning on it, but I don't 100% know what our stream schedule is yet. I don't really know what we're doing, to be honest. I mean, I was going to go live tomorrow for another update at some point. I'm probably only going to do one tomorrow. Sunday, depending on what this looks like, we might have 1 or 2 updates. I mean, the models, like, this is kind of the crazy thing. We looked at this a second ago, but the models have actually, I mean, at least the models that are in this selection, which, again, don't really account for rapid intensification at all. They, again, don't show, like, any intensification. Like, they show tropical storm, low-end category 1 hurricane. If this happens, I doubt we're gonna be live much for this. Like, we might be live for an update every day, but, like, landfall coverage, we'll probably have it, but I mean, it might not be long, because if it's only a tropical storm or category 1 hurricane, I wouldn't be that concerned. But if it's something higher than that, then, I mean, it could be a big deal. Now, with that said, I think this is going to still cause major impacts, at least flooding impacts, no matter what the intensity is. I think storm surge still going to be pretty much at least 5 feet across most of the Texas coast. So if you're along the immediate waters, you need to make those precautions now. You should start to take preparation seriously now if you're anywhere along the Texas coast. Especially if you get into a hurricane watch like Corpus Christi already is, you should start to take those precautions and those preparations now rather than later. But, I mean, again, it's possible that this is only a Category 1 upon landfall. I think we'll still be live for it. Just, again, the live stream would just not be as long if that does happen. But if it does rapidly intensify, which I feel like it still will, even though the forecast is still, you know, Category 1 strength, by all means, we'll probably be live quite a bit for this. The Hurricane Watch will probably be expanded to Galveston. I don't see why it wouldn't, honestly. Like, honestly, I think like Galveston near Houston, Hurricane Watch, I think is definitely in play. Because those areas, in my opinion, are in the, you know, like the odds are growing that this hurricane is going to be going further to the east. And I would expect the National Hurricane Center update at 11 p.m. to probably include areas between Houston and Corpus Christi. I think the path will actually be further to the east. And like this middle line that you see on your screen, I would be I'm almost certain that it's going to be further to the east, just based off of the model guidance and also how this has been wobbling more to the north. So, that's what I'm thinking. Thank you, Josh, for the $10 super chat. These Category 5s that reach the coast, so they usually have a certain amount of time overcast up towards Tennessee. Oh, a certain amount of overcast. Oh, I didn't know what you were saying. I mean, let's check out the geocolor. They all vary though. Like it's not all the same. I mean, you'll probably start to see overcast conditions like the day before it gets there. Because if we go to the geocolor satellite, which I'm going to refresh here because it's bugged. How's the wind shear in the Gulf? We can pull it up in a second. It's not super crazy, but and you can see here the current tropical storm, which again, this is not a hurricane right now, it's a tropical storm. Right now, Tropical Storm Beryl has a pretty good overreach of cloud cover. It stretches off to the north by, I don't know, probably about 300 miles or so from the center. So realistically, Tennessee will probably start to see cloudier conditions sometime when it gets probably within 24 hours of you, but it's more about the speed, because if this thing just moves slowly like it is going to probably do once it gets to Texas, you're not going to see really anything until it actually gets closer to you. So it has more to do with speed. There usually is at least some sort of like leeway. If it's within 300 miles of you, you'll probably at least start to see some clouds. But again, it's more about mileage and not as much about time, if you know what I mean. I think the western Louisiana coast, if this does make landfall closer to Houston, I do think western Louisiana will at least have a storm surge risk south of Beaumont, south of Lake Charles, and then as this moves to the north, we could see some flooding concerns, but I don't think it's going to be a substantial one. Personally, I think this cone of uncertainty is pretty large right now. I think it could probably, I think it's going to shrink on the next outlook to at least some extent. If it doesn't, I'd be kind of surprised. But I think this is going to probably shrink a lot. Like, I don't think Mexico is going to be in this anymore. I do think a United States landfall is imminent. I don't see any other way around this at this point. Thank you, Jackson, also for becoming a member, and welcome to the Velocities. By the way, if you're just tuning in, make sure to like the stream, subscribe to the channel if you're new here. If you're on Facebook as well, make sure to like the stream. It does help out our page a lot. If you are on Facebook, by the way, you can watch us on YouTube. The link is in the description. If you're wondering about DFW, again, I've kind of already went over my thinking, but I think Dallas-Fort Worth, it's a hit or miss, 50-50. Could see 10 inches of rain, you could see 0 inches. It could go either way. It's kind of how Texas, or at least North Texas goes. Northeast Texas, I think, has a better shot of at least seeing significant rainfall. So if you're in Northeast Texas, which is what somebody's asking, I do think if this does go off to the Northeast as forecasted like this, or even closer to Houston, something like this, I think there will at least be a chance of 2 to 4 inches of widespread rainfall, and then perhaps even upwards of 6 to 8 inches in some spots. What's going on with the tropical storm west of Mexico? Little Aleta west of Mexico right now. This is not even a tropical storm anymore. It's just a tropical depression. It's not going to do anything, trust me. The area of development behind Beryl didn't even develop. Like, that was likely to develop, but then Beryl decided to use all the energy in the Caribbean Sea. So that area of convection, I don't even know if it's on the map anymore. Let me check. Let's go Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean. There was an area of development back out here to the east. I don't think it's even on the map anymore. I could be wrong, but I don't think there's even an area of development anymore back over here in the Caribbean. I'm pretty sure this south of Puerto Rico is that convection that had the potential for developing, but all the energy has been used at this point in the Caribbean Sea from Hurricane Beryl. So, or now tropical storm, but when it was a hurricane. So I'm pretty sure this was the convection though. Let me just do a quick little loop here. That might be it. It might have also just completely lost itself. Invest 96L. Is that what it is? I don't think it's still... Does it still exist? I think they removed the probability of that developing. Let me check here. Yeah. It's completely removed. I mean, it might still be an invest, but there's no probability of it developing. They don't even have it on there anymore. Steve Smith for the 199. I challenge you to a 1v1 18-hole golf match. I'm already playing Connor, and that might also be a challenge. So, I'll pass. Thank you. I'm probably going to lose against Connor, honestly. I am not in peak shape. I was actually on the golf team in high school, and I played pretty solid, but I've fallen off ever since. My drives are like 50 yards shorter. My irons are still pretty good, but man, I've lost distance and everything. I don't know how. I used to be like Bryson DeChambeau when I was on my high school golf team. Like I would hit it 300 plus yards sometimes on some holes, and literally cannot do it anymore. Thank you, Sailing the Sky, for another $10 super chat. There were multiple times where you had more people watching your live streams last weekend than the X Games live stream on YouTube. I don't even know what that is. What? I mean, it's obviously not big enough for me to even know, so I don't know what that is. I did peak in high school. I've got to say, my Riz has never peaked, but I did peak in high school when it comes to golf. I apparently have a cameo due in 24 hours. Uh-oh. Thank you, Tiana, for the $5 Venmo. I appreciate that, Tiana, by the way. Thank you. I don't know if you're still here, but I do appreciate the generosity. Thank you from Facebook. X Games is amazing. I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know what that is. Thank you, Pet, for the $1.99. What is X Games? What? I don't know what this is. Why is this like actually like you guys are apparently all know what it is? I've never heard of it. Where all the convection go, it's died. It's over. No, it's just over cold ocean waters right now. It's going to intensify again tomorrow. It's right now it's in a pocket of cold water. Once it gets out of that, it'll probably start to blow up again. So it's gone temporarily, but it'll be back tomorrow. Don't worry. Hey Tracy for the $9.99. Shout out to Jason C. Appreciate you tuning in. My 6 handicap? I don't know what my handicap is. I'm pretty sure the last time I did my handicap, which was before I've been decent for a little. I mean, I'm decent, I would call it. Like, I'm at least above average for golf. I'm pretty sure my handicap is lower than it was, but it was at a 10 for golf. And again, we're talking about golf handicap. We're not talking about another handicap. I had people messaging me on Facebook, like, about stuff about people apparently making fun of my handicap. Again, it's golf handicap. That's what we're talking about. All right, that's what we're talking about. My golf handicap at one point was a 10. I'm pretty sure now it's down to I'm pretty sure it's around an 8 probably now. If I were to keep doing it, because I've gotten better since I last tracked my handicap. You wouldn't imagine the amount of Facebook messages I got though about that. Thank you, Lauren, for becoming a member. Thank you, Smith, for the $4.99. Appreciate that. Thanks for the super chat. Everyone sucks at golf. That's actually true. I have to say that, including Connor. Possibly a significant tornado outbreak. It's possible. We very well could see a tornado outbreak. Is it going to actually happen? We'll see. It's going to depend on the path, though. Again, I think the better chance for there being a tornado outbreak will be in southeast Texas and southwest Louisiana on Monday. But again, we'll see what happens. Depends really on the track of where this hurricane goes, which, all the models basically showing a landfall between Corpus Christi and Houston. As long as it happens, this will be the spot to watch for the biggest, at least, tornado threat. It's not like Markiplier. I don't even know who that is either. Is Max Sigma? I guess so. I also do not know what that means. I don't know what anything means. Wind shear in the Gulf? Oh yeah, let me show you guys that. Yeah, thank you. Let me pull up the graphic here for wind shear. I'm a mini golf pro. Me and Connor should low-key do a mini golf match too. Actually, maybe not. There's no good mini golf around me. At least from what I know. I haven't really done mini golf in a while though. All right, here's the wind shear right now. Right now. This is gonna be an ugly map. Just gonna let you know, you're gonna be very confused at what you're looking at. So, disclaimer. But this right here is Florida. Let me put it in a color that stands out. We're gonna make it white. That's Florida right there. This over here is Texas. All right. This is where our hurricane is currently located. Right now, actually, there is a lot of wind shear. The red and the yellow is indicating an unfavorable environment. My eyes, I know. This is the ugliest graphic we could have probably found for this, but this is the only one I found. That makes my brain hurt. I apologize. But let me redraw it real quick, because that is a pretty horrendous graphic. There's a lot of wind shear currently northwest of Beryl. So that actually might help keep this a bit weaker. I think a lot of models are currently catching on to that, but I do think rapid intensification is still possible on Sunday as this moves into the Western Gulf, because after it gets past this wind shear, it's probably going to start to intensify. So this right here is wind shear that's present across parts of the central and western Gulf of Mexico, and then back over south of Houston. I think there will be an opportunity, at least a window for rapid intensification, which again, that's what the National Hurricane Center is at least currently forecasting. It will intensify. They're not showing rapid intensification, but they are showing at least some gradual intensification as it approaches Texas. Now, if it does go again towards Houston, I think the chances of rapid intensification are way higher. But at this point, for right now, I think, again, our next live stream will probably be tomorrow night, and then we'll probably end up having a live stream on Sunday. Maybe one or two. It's going to depend on how fast this intensifies, really. Because where it's at right now, it's so like mid right now. Like this tropical storm is mid. Anybody that's telling you it's a category 7 hurricane, that's cap. It looks like crap on infrared imagery. It looks like crap on satellite. It actually looks pretty impressive on satellite for a tropical storm, but it's not healthy at all. And it's again in cold ocean waters, so once it gets more to the northwest, if the wind shear dies down tomorrow, that could change the game entirely for this particular storm. It could go quick, rapid intensification. But if it stays strong, I don't see this intensifying much until Sunday. Which, again, that's what the National Hurricane Center has forecasted. Like, there's really not much of a change there. It gets to a stronger tropical storm by late tomorrow night. And then a hurricane by Sunday. Which, again, it could get to a hurricane earlier, but it's going to depend a lot more on wind shear. But right now, it's going to be fighting through a really hard environment. Which, again, it's gone through a lot of tough environments, but it's a much weaker storm than what it was in the Western Caribbean. When it was in the Western Caribbean, it was battling some mid-shear, again, 20 to 30 knots. It was not great. It wasn't like super strong shear, but it was strong enough. It was weakening, but again, it didn't weaken a whole lot really until it made landfall. Like, again, this got back to a category 3 east of Cancun. So, you know, it's possible, but I still think really it's not the same storm that it was before, and there's gonna be a lot of hype on this over the next few days. I'm just putting it out there. I mean, heck, I literally responded to somebody earlier on Twitter. I've blocked like 3 people on Twitter in my lifetime, and this is the 3rd person. But there's somebody that posted several days ago there was a category 5 hurricane that was coming to Texas, like near Houston, making landfall. Again, I'm not saying that's not possible, even though it's extremely unlikely at this current stage. But that stuff that was posted 5 days ago. Like, that hype that you're seeing either on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, whatever platform it might be, just be careful, because there's a lot of crap being posted, like, everywhere. There is real stuff. If you are looking on social media, make sure it is a meteorologist, not a conspiracy theorist or something else, because those people, they don't have degrees, they don't know much about weather to begin with, at least most of them don't. They're just out there to try to sell you on hype. So it's been like this for years, but this is probably the worst year that we've had when it comes to hype. I've been doing weather for about 5 years now when it comes to hurricanes, at least. 2019 wasn't that bad. 2020 wasn't that bad. 2021 wasn't that bad. It really got worse in 2023, and this year is going to be the worst because of how many hurricanes we're probably going to see. So, yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's social media. Can't really do much about it. Obviously, people are going to be putting out their forecasts. I mean, obviously, I am not a degreed meteorologist, but I am 3 years through being a meteorologist in college. I'm 1 year from being done. And I have a lot of experience already. We've been doing this for 5 years when it comes to hurricane forecasts. Even before we had max velocity, and max velocity began 2 years ago. You know, North Texas Weather Center, that's where we start doing hurricane forecasts. That started back in 2019. So just keep that in mind. We do have a pretty good track record, at least, when it comes to forecasting. We've actually been very accurate, too, with most of these forecasts. And so far, we've actually been pretty spot on. Again, I've been saying since 4 or 5 days ago, it's probably going to go to Texas, but again, we don't really know the specifics 5 days, ago. We didn't know if this was going to be a hurricane or it might be something on the lower spectrum, which right now it's forecasted to make landfall as a tropical, or a hurricane, but a lower end hurricane at a category 1 level. But that could, again, increase. I do think it'll increase possibly to a category 2 if it takes a further east track. It's going to be an EF6. It's not going to be an EF6, trust me. It might be an EF7, you never know. No, but honestly, people talk about category 10 hurricanes and stuff. If you ever see somebody talk about a category 6+ hurricane, they are, unless they're talking about how it's not a thing, I mean, that's probably not a reliable source. I remember North Texas Weather Center. It's still around. We're actually we're streaming on both YouTube and Facebook right now. And North Texas Weather Center is the second platform that we're streaming to right now on Facebook. Like, we're actually streaming to both platforms right now. It still exists. I try to post a lot on there still, but it can be tough because I'm running multiple pages right now. So it takes a lot of work. But we do not stream as much on Facebook anymore. We mostly just stream on YouTube. But in this case, we'll probably have multiple updates on both platforms. We'll be doing some dual live streams. You make a hurricane t-shirt? We might release one. We'll see. I was thinking about it. I'm not sure yet, though. I was thinking about it. We're actually supposed to be releasing a gritty sticker, believe it or not. A lot of people wanted a gritty sticker. I think it's actually on our store right now. But I don't think we've actually officially released it. Let me check. Yeah, we actually have our original gritty sticker. Let me, this is like the emoji. We're gonna have probably a better one in the future. I'm gonna post the link in the chat though if you want to check it out. It'll be pinned at the top of the chat if you want to pick it up. Could be one of the first ones to buy it if you get it now, because I've not publicly released it until now. But it's the original. We're calling it the original. We'll have a better version of it in the future. I remember Denton County weather. I do too. I remember a lot of it. We used to have Atkinson NH weather. That was back in like 2015. Thank you, Smith, for the $4.99. Hurricane Patricia in 2015 could create an argument for a category 6 or 7 hurricane. I'm gonna look at this. I don't remember Patricia at all. 215 mile/hour winds. Wow. 872 millibars. That is low. Where did it actually make landfall? Did it make landfall anywhere? Western Mexico. Oh, this is a Pacific. Wow, that's actually crazy. I didn't know that existed. I'm not, again, a historian when it comes to anything, really, when it comes to weather. I don't, have a great memory, to be honest. So, didn't know this existed until now. Even though I'm, obviously, it's not stuff you learn in college, just letting you know. Yeah, when you're in meteorology college, you're going to be learning a lot of technical stuff, not history, just letting you know. There should actually be a meteorology history class. That'd be pretty cool, but there isn't one. But that's actually pretty insane. Hurricane Michael's a beast. I do remember that one. Actually, I remember that one pretty well. I drove through the Florida Panhandle probably about 2 years after it hit. It was absolutely insane what happened there. How Beryl impact our golf match? I answered your question earlier. You left, though. How could you? I was saying earlier, I'm pretty sure I played after Hurricane or before Hurricane Nicole made landfall in Florida. I think it was last year. Again, I don't even remember anymore, but I think it was last year. Like the day or the 2 days before that happened, the winds were really strong. Like at the surface, there were probably like 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts. Aloft though, they're obviously stronger. They're upwards probably a 40 to 50. Like the golf ball, if you hit it against wind, it goes nowhere. But if you hit it with like, with the wind, it goes super far. I honestly want to play golf in an actual hurricane at some point. Like that would be so sick. Just go to the eye wall, play some golf, probably get blown over. It'd be pretty cool though. I don't think the golf ball would stand up on the tee. Thank you, Mark, for the $4.99. Does Connor need a first mate for his Hurricane Storm Chaser ship? What does that even mean? We're talking about like a girlfriend or something like that? Or are we talking about something else? I'm a boomer. I don't really know what we're talking about anymore. Golf in a hurricane? That'd be so lit. I actually would do that, no doubt. Golf ball wouldn't stay on the tee? It wouldn't. There's no way. I mean, like, yeah, there's just no way. You'd have to actually, like, put it in a box or something. Hit that, and it probably won't even go anywhere. I was also saying earlier, I don't think you were here, but I was actually on the golf team in high school. I was in my prime then. I was able to drive the ball like 300 plus yards. Cannot do that anymore. My driver, unless I absolutely whip it, like the ball only goes like 220 maybe. But I did develop a better driver swing, but it's less consistent, and it goes back to 250. But I used to be like Bryson DeChambeau in high school. Like I was able to whack that ball so far down the fairway. Can't do it anymore. I don't play as much as I used to. I used to play literally daily on the golf team, but now I only play like once every few months, usually. Sometimes it's more often though. Where's the eye currently? Yeah, you really can't see it. It's right. It's on the northern line. I don't know if it's on the line anymore. It might not even be on the line anymore. It actually might be north of the cone of uncertainty. Hard to tell with how sheared this thing's been, and there's like no convection. Let me check water vapor. It was originally just on the northern side of this cone of uncertainty. This thing just keeps wobbling to the north, though. Max regression, literally. Let's get some max regression merch out there, too. Who's gonna be the first one to pick up a Max Gritty sticker? What was its highest category today? It was a category 2 upon landfall. Even then, it was pretty questionable if it was actually a category 2. Where is this eye? Did it like just disappear? It's like north of the cone of uncertainty again. It's been like this literally all day. I think it's north of the cone of uncertainty again. Literally, this happened so many times. Am I gonna stay live for the 11 p.m. advisory? I don't know. I'll probably stay live until I actually have to go. I mean, my voice is kind of drained from the last few days, but I will probably... I don't know. If it comes out, like, by 10:45, I might. We'll see. I don't really know yet. I wasn't planning on it, but I might, because it might be interesting. Friendly reminder, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. Like the stream as well. It does help get this out to more people. Again, we'll be doing Hurricane Beryl, or Tropical Storm Beryl right now. Updates pretty much every day live, and we'll also have a video probably tomorrow morning, and then we might have one in the afternoon, depending on what it looks like tomorrow. I think tomorrow's video title is going to be this storm could go, or will go big or go home. Sounds like an awful title. That's actually, I don't even know. I was thinking about that. Title doesn't sound bad. Sometimes I just make titles up on the fly. I don't know. Maybe we'll use it. We'll see. Will it rapidly intensify? If it takes more of a path along the right side of this cone of uncertainty, I do think it will. But if it goes more on the left side, probably not. There's a lot more wind shear tomorrow across the central and western Caribbean, or yeah, this is not the Caribbean Sea, in the Gulf of Mexico. So that wind shear will not really allow it to intensify much tomorrow. Great title. You know, the text in the thumbnail should just be big or bust. Tomorrow's title. We don't know what's going to happen with this storm. It sounds so reassuring. Thank you, Cleveland, for the 199. On current winds, low pressure is near the track line. Actually, let me go to aircraft recon. I didn't even think of that. Let me put that up here. Probably should do that. It's not it. 4 minutes ago. They're actually in it right now. I don't think there's going to be much of an intensity update in the next Outlook, but I do think there will at least be some sort of, like, update when it comes to just the track. Which the latest observation is that this center is going to probably be on the, yeah, it's going to be on, like, the northern line, probably right about there. And 50 knots isn't even that crazy. 50 knots? I think that's only, like... It's only 58 miles per hour. We could actually see this downgraded further as a tropical storm, which that is in the forecast tonight. It's supposed to go down to 60 mile per hour maximum sustained winds. Definitely weakening still, even though it's over waters, but it's in colder ocean waters right now, so it's not going to intensify much tonight, no matter what, really. So, really won't matter much. Is Connor still here? Probably not. I have never seen a hurricane that splits into two. No, I mean, this isn't going to, but I don't really recall any, at least in my history, of that happening. Which, again, my history sucks, but just saying, I don't recall, at least. We need a live stream a golf match? Me and Connor will be, I think. It's like a 90% chance. It might actually be in the next few weeks. If the weather's quiet, he might just come down to Florida, and we might just do it, like, in July. Just depends on what happens after Beryl, obviously, but it is definitely possible that we do it sooner rather than later. Because after Beryl, I don't see anything significant happening. Like past Wednesday, the weather looks dead. Yeah, let me see if that's changed. At least as of 2 days ago, it looked like that. When would the storm hit Dallas? Well, if it does, it'll probably be late Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, this is the European model right now. It shows, like, the hurricane, and that's it. There's, like, a few storms in the Central Plains, but nothing crazy. Somebody really named themselves Ryan Hill. Is that your actual name, or is that just a combination of Andy Hill and Ryan Hall? Here's the GFS model. Wow. The weather looks dead. Literally, after Beryl. It looks dead for, like, 2 weeks. That is crazy. Let's look at the jet stream real quick, just to make sure we're not missing anything. That's my real name? Oh, okay, my bad. I thought that was just a combination. Some people do weird things. I mean, we have what's his name? We have Teed Rimmer. Basically the combination of just changing letters. We could have a Connor Croft, but I mean, he has the same initials for both his last and first name. Thank you, Damian, for the $5 super chat. We already have 12 likes on the max velocity. What? What's that even mean? Where? It's my golf handicap. It's about an 8, probably. Maybe near a 10. Alright, let me look at the jet stream again. I mean, again, this jet stream would basically take Beryl. And then after that, this weather pattern looks dead. Like, I'm not even kidding. After this weekend, we might not have a live stream for, like, severe weather or even hurricanes, potentially for 2 weeks. We could have a massive break after this weekend, which would actually be absurd. Because the jet stream shows absolutely no dips at all. Like, we've had a ton recently. It shows almost nothing. The jet stream is so far off to the north. So, there's a possibility after this weekend and into early next week. we might be done with severe weather coverage for potentially 2 weeks, which I've been wanting for a while, but we just have had endless streams. Like, I want a break. I love doing live streams, but like, I legitimately want a break from the weather. It's been way too busy for the last 3 months. So there is a possibility that our golf match is going to be possibly sometime in mid-July, but we'll see. Or maybe even near the end of July. But it depends more on Connor, because Connor's actually traveling. I wouldn't be. I mean, I'm already in Florida, so I wouldn't be going that far. So, more up to him. Max, I'd love you to keep working, but it seems like it's over. Well, it's not really over. I mean, obviously, it looks like it's over right now. It literally looks like it's done, but it's really not. Again, it's in cold ocean waters right now. It's expected to weaken tonight anyways, a little bit more, but not much, and that's what's happening. Tomorrow, we'll probably start to see some organization, but it won't organize much. By Sunday, I think things really start to get going. So, tomorrow, again, we might have a live update tomorrow, we'll see. Depending on what the models basically show is what will determine that. I don't think we're going to have a live stream, though, on... I don't know if we'll have a live stream tomorrow yet. Again, it depends on the intensity. We'll have a live stream Sunday, almost undoubtedly, to some extent. And then Monday, possible live stream coverage, if this does still look concerning enough. The golf match will be live. Yeah, we'll be broadcasting it on both channels. So, we'll be live on both my channel and Connor's channel. And it will be public. It's not members only. We were initially thinking it would be members only, but I don't think we're going to. Thank you, Herman, for the $5 super chat. Appreciate the generosity. We're not doing 8-inch brownies for everybody, but I do appreciate the generosity. Yeah, we should low-key. I don't think Connor's here. We should consider Starlink in case the course doesn't have good cell data. I didn't even think of that. Hey, Christopher, for the $19.99. Appreciate the generosity. And thank you. Can I join the golf team? No. Why am I a member? You probably got gifted a membership. A lot of people gift memberships on our stream. Reed Timmer said he would go golfing with me, but finding a time to go golfing with him would be absolutely... Like, it would be difficult, to say the least. That'd be a serious task. How's it going, Taco? What about a Scrabble stream? I kind of want to do like a wheel of things stream. That'd be pretty funny. Oh, you buy yours? Okay. Thank you to that. I don't know what your name is. I appreciate the $5 super chat. Would DFW get wind with this or just rain? Oh, my name is just someone. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Because it was in... Yeah, it's definitely Japanese, and I've definitely never taken Japanese. Dallas-Fort Worth would be mostly rain, because again, if this does impact DFW, it's going to be a tropical depression by that point. Icon model still has this as a tropical storm by then, but even then, it would just be gusty winds. But again, it's a hit or miss when it comes to rain. We either get a lot of rain in Dallas-Fort Worth, or we get, like, none. So that's basically where we're at right now. Max Velocity Gaming Channel? No. We'll probably have more members-only streams after Hurricane Beryl. So if you want to become a member, want members-only content, we're probably going to at least have a few streams in July, because it looks dead after this. So we should have some members-only content in mid-July. Hey, Damian, for the $10 super chat. Appreciate the generosity. I don't know what that means. I'm not even going to say it because I don't know what that means. And I don't know how to even pronounce that. Marissa even said, what does this mean? Time to mail Max some custom Pro V1s. If you do, that would be absolutely crazy. Like, that would be amazing if you do that. I haven't picked up mail in, like, days, but we have a lot of fan mail, I'm pretty sure, at our mailbox. the landfall due to the bats? That's actually a great question. I'm curious to know that as well. For those that are new to the channel, haven't already seen it, we actually have bats that take off in Texas every night, pretty much, during at least the summer months. I've never seen it in the fall, but we actually have thunderstorms in the area right now, so that's kind of a thing that's happening. Let me take off the cone of uncertainty here. Oh, there we go. The bats actually take off every night. Sunset's getting earlier and earlier, so they actually took off at 7:46 tonight. All the bats basically flying away from the storms, which is pretty interesting. Literally all of them. And we got storms up here, so those bats probably didn't take off. What are the probabilities for a tornado outbreak around Beryl? I mean, it just depends really on where it makes landfall and how strong of a hurricane this is. Because the more outer band activity that we have coming off this, the better shot of tornadoes there will be. And it's probably going to, again, happen up here near Houston. That's my guess. I'm guessing if we have a tornado outbreak, it's going to be in southwest Louisiana, southeast Texas on Monday. After Monday, your guess is as good as mine because we don't really know where it's going to go. But assuming it takes the exact track as the National Hurricane Center, which, again, I think is going to shift. So we're just going to draw our own line here for the, like, middle line ground. Tornado outbreak on Monday would probably be here. Tuesday could be anywhere up in here. And then Wednesday, who knows? There might not be anything left of Beryl. It also could still be down in Texas by Wednesday if it slows down. So really beyond Monday, there is just so much uncertainty of how fast this is going and if it will still be posing the threat for tornadoes. So, yeah. Flood risk and clean. It's, again, 50-50. If this hurricane goes up your direction, yes. If it goes over here, no. Because this will, I mean, again, the northern, eastern, and southern sides of a hurricane usually have the most rain. The western side doesn't usually, unless a hurricane is coming in more like this, where we can get significant rain from like the inner wall or the eye wall, if you will. But if it's going more in this direction, like that west side of a hurricane usually weakens faster. So, yeah, I wouldn't expect much. It usually just gets filtered in by dry air. So, I wouldn't be too concerned there. Has the National Hurricane Center update come out yet? Apparently the pressure dropped by 2 millibars. No, it hasn't, actually. Apparently the pressure dropped to 2 millibars, so... I don't think it's intensifying, even if the pressure drops, because the wind actually was lower. Let me check. Let me check the data here. Any sleeping for the $5 super chat? I like when hurricane remnants come through Missouri. You can smell the ocean. It's weird. It's fish smelly. Okay, thank you for the information. I've never heard that before, but okay. That's actually probably a thing, though, honestly. Will it hit Houston? Houston's going to get impacts to some extent. If it makes landfall near Houston, hurricane force winds, storm surge, flooding rains are the main concerns. Could see a tornado threat develop if it's more to your west, though. So, either way, you're going to see impacts. I love the smell of fish. Did Max just say the pressure dropped by 2 millibars? Well, that's what somebody else just said. I don't think that's true, though. I think that might just be a miscalculation. Or something on that app, because like there are hurricane hunters right now in the sorry, not in the hurricane, but in the tropical storm. They are seeing actually a consistent increase of pressure. 900. This actually increased by 5 millibars, so it's actually even weaker than before. Which is good news. Let's hope that continues. Again, up to 999 millibars, so it's good to see. But again, this is kind of expected, so this stuff is not shocking. It depends more on Sunday, really. If Sunday could go big, or it could also just turn into nothing. It could just be a strong tropical storm on landfall. Again, it could go crazy, or it could be kind of weak. We'll have to wait and see. But impacts are expected to Texas, no matter really what happens at this point. I don't think this thing's just going to die out with how Beryl's been so far. But, I mean, there are some wind barbs in here that are a bit higher. Let's check out the latest observations here from the Hurricane Hunters. We'll put on the one that came in 3 minutes ago. That might be updated here. Yeah, they just measured a wind of 54 knots. So this hasn't weakened substantially when it comes to wind. The wind is really not weakened much at all, but it's at around 60 miles per hour, 65 miles per hour. So this is probably going to be downgraded just slightly to like 60 mile per hour winds in the 11 p.m. update from the National Hurricane Center, would be my guess. All right. Was there a massive tornado in China? That's what I saw on Twitter. I can't always verify those videos because you never know, but it does look like there was one because I saw a few different perspectives of it. Apparently there was like a large violent tornado there. I think it was today or yesterday, whatever day it might have been. By the way, shout out to Jonathan, Edward, and as well as Evelyn for picking up the Max Velocity Dance sticker, the original emoji. We appreciate that. If you want to pick it up, by the way, again, we have a drop happening. Not really a drop, but it'll be around for a little while. Our original little gritty emoji that we have in the chat, you can pick it up on shopmaxvelocity.net. The link is at the top of the description. It is also going to be pinned in the chat. Tornado outbreak, at least from the soundings. It'll probably, I mean, are you talking about China? Or are you I don't know if we're talking about China anymore, or are we talking about actually the United States? But, I mean, the United States could also see a tornado outbreak on Monday. Thank you, Damian, for another $10 super chat. I know what you're talking about when it comes to masks, but I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I'm not going to say it. Is that a guy? Is it like a phrase? I don't know what that is. Apparently, whoever that is fell off. So I'm guessing it's a person. Am I going to come on later if this blows up? Well, not tonight. I mean, this is our only update tonight. This is actually a longer update than I was going to have, but I think we're going to be live until the update from the National Hurricane Center. Which is within the next 20 minutes or so, probably. Hopefully. Might even be sooner. National Hurricane Center will probably have an update within the next 20 minutes. It's usually by 11. But it can be sooner. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan, for tuning in. I appreciate you mentioning that we have not eaten cheese curds. I actually haven't talked about cheese curds, but we have had no cheese curds since the night before it rapidly intensified east of the Windward Islands. So, I know, it's crazy. We're on a diet right now. I have not had cheese curds at all. And I want to have cheese curds. Like, I low-key want some. But I'm not going to have any. Alright, I'm not going to have any until Beryl is completely done. Thank you, CC, for becoming a Maximum Velocity member, and welcome to the Velocities. Thank you, Damian, for the $2 super chat. That is his name. I didn't know it was a name. I thought you were... I just thought it was a phrase. Don't do it. I'm having cheese curds after... Dude, did you look at, like, the weather pattern after this weekend? It's, like, literally gonna be the quietest weather that we've probably seen in, like, 6 months. Like the weather pattern, I'm so excited. I'm actually gonna have like an actual break. It looks like the jet stream looks pretty horrendous. Like it's literally just gonna be pretty much zonal all the way through next week, and then after that, after Beryl's done, obviously, like nothing gonna happen. Jet stream is gonna be so far to the north by mid-July. We might have 2 weeks of no live streams that are again related at least to severe weather. We'll probably have members only streams and perhaps even a golf stream with Connor Croft in the next 2 weeks. It's possible. That's why I'm going to chase Canada. I saw you chase Canada. You didn't have great reception for a while. That's a tough environment. I don't know how reception is there, but I would never chase in Canada. It does not look like a very friendly environment. Looks like a lot of trees. Whenever I picture Canada, I just see lots of trees. You're gonna jinx it? I'm not gonna jinx it, guys. Please. Settle down. We never jinx anything here on the Max Velocity channel. Harvey, this is not gonna be like Harvey. I mentioned in today's video on YouTube, we talked about how we compared or really contrasted, I should say, Harvey and Beryl. They're not the same. All right, I did use an example of Harvey because a lot of people remember it. It's not the same as Harvey. It's not gonna be as slow. So it could slow down, but it's not gonna be as slow as Harvey. Harvey literally just sat right along the coast for like days. There's stuff around the border for service, but after that was good. That's good. I would never chase in Canada, to be honest. I don't know where I would actually chase, because apparently Connor wants to bring me on a chase. I don't know where I would actually chase. I'm Canadian. Nice. Good maple syrup up there. Could the storm re-intensify? That's at least what's expected. And we could see it rapidly intensify once it gets closer to Texas. But again, I think today and tomorrow, they're going to be pretty boring days. I don't think we're going to be live tomorrow. Again, unless models show this going crazy. Because right now, it's currently indicating as like a low-end hurricane right now when it makes landfall. Even the National Hurricane Center still has that. But there are some models like the HWRF that showed as a stronger hurricane. But I don't think it's going to go really that crazy. We can look at the HWRF real quick. I mean, the HWRF has this going kind of crazy. And actually, the HWRF has it going east of Corpus Christi, which I wouldn't be surprised by. I mean, I could see that happening too. And that actually brings rain to Dallas-Fort Worth, by the way, for those in DFW. The HWRF is your friend if you're in Dallas-Fort Worth. Get some nice rain as we go into... looks like late Monday night to Tuesday morning. Don't chase with Connor, or if you do, you're driving. I just don't think that'll work out. You show Harvey's path? You can just look it up. I mean, Harvey's nowhere near the same, though. It's just not the same. Can we put on wind gusts on here? We're on 10 millibar speed. Okay, so this particular model has wind speeds upwards of 90 miles per hour upon landfall, so a Cat 1 hurricane. Seems realistic to me, honestly. So the HWRF, even though the reflectivity goes crazy, Category 1 is what it says on landfall. Here's what it shows over ocean waters. You know, the HWRF doesn't have this really intensifying at all until it actually as we go into Sunday. Like, Sunday looks like the day where we actually could see something. Honestly, I don't think we're going to see anything before that. If you chase with Connor, you'll get stuck on a dirt road. You're probably not wrong. Imagine if I was the one chasing, and Connor was in the passenger seat, and he just told me where to go. I think we would never get stuck in a dirt road. Low-key. I think it's possible. I don't think he's watching, so I don't think he's gonna hear this. He was watching earlier. The HMON model, which is not one I've been keeping up with, shows it as pretty much a low-end Category 1 upon landfall. Yeah, if you're just tuning in, we are waiting for the 11 p.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center. We'll see if the cone shifts at all, which I do think it will be. We'll be, I think, live for that. Yeah, we'll be live for that. The advisory's up. Is it already out? Alright. Connor's awesome. It's gonna be kind of crazy. Like, I have never personally met somebody like over the internet in real life before. I mean, obviously it's a little different, but this would be pretty crazy. Like in this instance. Legit just gonna be playing golf pretty much like the day that he comes down to Florida. Be crazy. Should I tell my parents to watch out for a tornado in Tyler, Texas? I mean, you can let them know. I don't know if we're gonna really have much of a tornado risk up there. It'll probably be pretty low. Connor's within a mile of the car. You're gonna get stuck in mud. Pretty funny. Yeah, I mean, I saw somebody send me a photo of like an image of him pushing his car in mud. It was pretty funny. Not like him pushing it up, but like an emoji sort of thing, like a cartoon picture. It's pretty funny. All right, we do have our new National Hurricane Center update. All right, so here's the full update. We have a new National Hurricane Center update. What we've all been waiting for here, diligently, I should say, here on the Max Velocity live stream. All right, so we have a new update from the National Hurricane Center. We're going to go over all the details and see if the cone has shifted at all. Stop picking on Connor, it happens. We're just joking around. If he gets stuck in the mud from the hurricane, that'd be insane. All right, talking about more about Tropical Storm Beryl, though. All right, so this is the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Currently expected to make landfall again Monday morning. It has weakened, right? So Beryl has actually weakened a little bit more now. It is now down still to a tropical storm. It hasn't decreased to tropical depression, but it is down to a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm. That does not shock me, by the way. From the latest data that we have, it's on probably the higher side of that number. It's probably around 62 miles per hour or so, but it is now officially down a little bit lower, so it has weakened just a little bit. This is expected, by the way. It is in the forecast, so this is not shocking, all right, because we're in cold ocean waters, so this happening does not really at least shock me. It might shock you, but it does not shock me. All right, so that's the latest on that. The pressure has also I think just increased a little bit, so it's up to 996 millibars. Originally they were observing 999, so I'm guessing there was a bit more of a middle ground there. 996 previously, as of this past outlook a little while ago, is at 994 millibars, so it is still weakening. It has not gone the other direction yet to strengthening. It is moving west-northwest at 13 miles per hour. It was moving at 15 miles per hour, so the overall, again, tropical storm here, it's slowing down just a little bit, and that's expected here over the next 24 hours, and even perhaps beyond that, it's expected to continue to slow down. All right. We have probably some new updates on we might have some new watches being issued. I'm gonna let you know. We have watches now issued in Houston. Let's take off this real quick. We have new storm surge watches that were just issued for the Houston area near Galveston and League City, so storm surge watches in effect there. I would not be surprised if hurricane watches also get in effect there at some point soon as well. Storm surge watches in effect all the way down through Corpus Christi, so some updates there as well. Really the biggest thing that I'm curious about is what the cone of uncertainty is going to look like, because I think there's going to be some changes there. So we should have that update here shortly. The storm surge forecast has also changed. A widespread, basically, area across Texas currently in the forecast for upwards of 3 to 5 feet of storm surge, but many areas between 2 to 4 feet now. So Galveston Bay, basically south of Houston, all those areas currently added to a 2 to 4 foot storm surge area. That is between the San Luis Pass and High Island. And then back down near the mouth of the Rio Grande and Baffin Bay, we also have potential for up to 4 feet of storm surge. Up to 5 feet of storm surge possible between Baffin Bay and San Luis Pass. So that is an update. Initially, this was actually a, I don't know if we can go back. I don't think we can, but initially it did not include Galveston at all. So at least from what I remember. All right. We also have an update, I believe, on intensity as well. And we also have an update on the cone. So we're going to compare them side by side and give you an idea of what it looks like. There has been a shift to the east. So the cone has shifted more to the east. Again, does not surprise me. It might surprise you. We've been talking about this for days now. So this is not like out of the ordinary. But here's the latest cone of uncertainty versus what we had before. So this was the cone that we had before. This is the cone that we have now. So notice how this has shifted quite a bit, actually. And the cone has also shrunk. So a Texas landfall is basically a 95% chance at this point that it's going to happen. Mexico still has a tiny sliver down there, but really not much. Still a small area of Louisiana where it could make landfall, but highly unlikely scenarios. It is expected to make landfall somewhere between, basically, again, Corpus Christi back towards Houston. So it's still a pretty large area. Hurricane watches are in effect. And again, notice the wind field not super large anymore. It was a bit larger before. Expected to stay as a tropical storm all the way now through Sunday morning. So this is not expected to intensify into a hurricane until probably Sunday afternoon or evening as it enters a lower shear environment. The further east it stays on this cone of uncertainty, the better chance there is of rapid intensification, that is a big question mark still. It is not likely or certain. It is a possibility. Models are still indicating that this is probably not going to rapidly intensify. There are a few that do show it, but not many. So it's not a set in stone sort of thing. But if it can stay in the Gulf of Mexico for long enough, and for example, again, going towards Houston, rapid intensification would be a possibility. The highest wind speed that the National Hurricane Center currently has forecasted is 95 miles per hour right before landfall Monday morning to Texas. So still a hurricane, but not a super intense hurricane by any means. But again, really the wind speed I don't think matters at this point. I think what's going to matter more is going to be the storm surge and the flooding potential and the tornado threat that'll come out of Hurricane Beryl. Now, if this for some reason does rapidly intensify, it could be even more concerning than it is now when it comes to wind damage. But I still think storm surge and flooding are really two of the biggest concerns in my opinion right now. The wind, I mean, it could fluctuate 10 miles per hour. It's not going to make a major difference in this case. It'd still be a Category 2 hurricane or Category 1 hurricane. With that said, 95 miles per hour is a Category 1 hurricane. So I don't know if I said Category 2. I meant to say Category 1 if I did. But Category 1 hurricane is 95 miles per hour. 96 or greater would be Category 2. I still think this is a possibility that we could see this go Category 2 briefly before it makes landfall. It could just cross over that line by a small amount and it'll be a Category 2. So again, this is the cone before. This is the cone now. You'll see that shift. It has shifted more to the east. And so I do think this is a pretty solid trend that's happening. Again, the computer models on the latest run, this is the most recent run at 18Z. Where's the 0Z? This is the most recent run. This is the most recent run. Every computer model right now putting a landfall between Corpus Christi and Houston, Texas. That's at least where we think it's going to make landfall. And then after that, probably going to go through Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, and then whatever happens after that, very uncertain. How fast this goes still is uncertain. We could see this as a big flooding event. We also could see this as a flooding event, but not nearly as large. We could see, you know, potentially upwards of 1 foot or more dropped of water in some areas. We also could see that being a lesser scenario if this moves fast enough, because a lot of computer models are kind of split. Some have it getting caught to the jet stream. If that happens, it'll move much faster. If the jet stream goes too fast, then we could see this kind of slow down and just kind of stall over near Louisiana and Texas. And if that happens, it won't be over water, so it shouldn't really drop a ton of rain. It will run out of moisture eventually, but it will at least be bringing impacts there through Tuesday or Wednesday. Somebody just said, do I need a boat or not? I mean, we're not going out in the Gulf of Mexico boating. The amount of cruise ships that have gone away from those areas is crazy. You can see like the ship maps. They've literally been going away from this hurricane entirely, which is what they're supposed to do. But I'm just saying, like, an absolute massive area of boats just all moving away from this. It's pretty crazy. All right, so that's the latest on that stuff. Let me go over the discussion here from the National Hurricane Center. The center of Beryl has emerged over the southern Gulf of Mexico, just northwest of Progreso in the Yucatan Peninsula. Surface observations and NOAA aircraft tail Doppler radar site indicates that the storm has become significantly tilted, with the low-level center located just southwest of the mid-level vortex, which actually gives you an indication of why, when we pause the infrared imagery, this is actually where the center is. So, it looks like it's actually spinning to the north, but it's just heavily tilted. So that's what we're seeing here. That's why there was a little bit of confusion before. Nonetheless, minimum pressure, 996 millibars. Beryl has been moving west-northwest about 11 knots, which is, again, 13 miles per hour. Just kind of talking about how there's more certainty that this will probably make landfall in Texas. This is also what they said here. This is a bit more important. So since Beryl's structure has degraded significantly from its passage over the Yucatan, it'll likely take a little time for the storm to recover, which is what we're seeing now. And then after that, they say, however, the overall environmental conditions are conducive for strengthening with increasing water temperatures and decreasing vertical shear along the expected track, which is expected more on Sunday compared to Saturday. So our intensification will probably happen mostly on Sunday, just to the south of Houston. All right, let me see where I left off here. In addition, the global models are suggesting that the upper level wind pattern might become more defluent before the system reaches the coast, which could aid in the intensification process. Although the global models are not particularly skillful in predicting the maximum winds of a tropical cyclone, which is a big call out there, which that's actually true. They do assess the environmental factors well in the European model and the GFS model. Both show significant decreases in the system's minimum pressure over the next couple days. Based on these fundamental features, the National Hurricane Center Intensity Forecast calls for slow strengthening during the next day or so, followed by a more steady strengthening until Beryl makes landfall. This forecast is similar to the previous one. So again, no major increases in terms of wind speed. We could see a more, again, a quicker increase of intensity south of Houston as we go into Sunday, but it's going to depend on the track. If this goes more to the east, it's going to be worse. If it goes more west, it's going to be less worse, and it'll just be more of a rain event and potentially some tornadoes. But again, really worst case scenario is that this goes towards Houston, and it could go to a category 2, maybe even a low-end category 3 hurricane. So that's worst case scenario. Right now, with where it's currently forecasted to go, I don't see it getting past category 2 status, which right now the direct line would be near Port Lavaca, east of Corpus Christi. Now, again, this is the cone of uncertainty. We could see the eye of this hurricane go anywhere from about Brownsville, Texas, all the way back over towards Lake Charles in Louisiana. It's a very large area. Worst case scenario will be further east and also further to the north towards Houston or even near Lake Charles, for example. But again, the eye of this hurricane could go on this line, it could go on this line, it could go here, here, here. I mean, it could go anywhere, right? But the further east it is of that middle sector line there, that is going to be the worst case scenario where we could see this go to a more intense hurricane. So, again, if you're in any of these areas, you got to be taking precautions, getting ready. And I'm not expecting this to go to a Category 5 hurricane like some people are trying to hype up on Twitter or TikTok or whatever platform you're on. But I do think this will at least get to a Category 1 at the bare minimum. That's at least my forecast. Category 2, I would give it probably about a 40% chance of happening at this point. Further east it goes, the higher likelihood there is of that happening. Category 3, I'll give it like a 15 to 20% chance. Category 4 or higher, I would say it's less than a 5% chance. I just don't think there's enough time, and even then, it's going to be going through a very poor environment tomorrow with a lot of vertical wind shear, so that should keep it weak for the next couple days, and then after that, it'll be entering a more favorable environment on Sunday. And again, Sunday will be the big day, I think, in terms of intensification. I don't think there's going to be much tomorrow. They said that there will probably be at least some gradual intensification tomorrow. I don't think there's going to be much of that, maybe until like maybe tomorrow night. There could be some, but like I don't think there's gonna be much. So right now where it's at, 60 mile per hour sustained winds, pressure of 996. I do think the pressure drops a little bit tomorrow, but not much. Maybe down to like 989, 988 or something like that by tomorrow night. And then after that, I think it'll probably start to skyrocket a bit more. This is from James Pettis, by the way. This is the gradual track and how it's changed over the last several days. Just kind of want to give you a comparison of what we're actually looking at here in terms of the forecast, and you can just kind of see how it keeps shifting to the east. That's been a very gradual trend here, and again, if you're new to the channel, you wouldn't know this, but back like 4 or 5 days ago, we were talking about how this was probably going to go towards Texas, and that an east shift like this is very possible once we get closer to it being, you know, near the Yucatan Peninsula, for example. That's all panned out. So unfortunately, we are still looking at a pretty bad situation because we are going to be looking at least some moderate to potentially even major impacts to areas like Texas, depending on how intense this gets. I do think no matter what category this is, we are still looking at significant storm surge and high wave heights along the coast, flooding, rainfall being one of the other big threats, and then also the potential for maybe a maybe small scale sort of tornado outbreak, depending on how intense it is, though, again. So that's what I'm thinking in terms of the forecast. And again, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We will be we'll have another video tomorrow. We'll have live stream updates as well frequently here over the next few days if this still looks concerning. I don't know if we'll be live tomorrow. As I mentioned before, it's going to depend on how intense this gets and if it looks like it could go category 2+. If that happens, if the models start upticking in terms of some sort of rapid intensification happening, you'll see us here tomorrow night. But if not, we're not going to be live because I just don't think there's enough to talk about for at least right now, unless this again starts to really get crazy to some extent. If this starts to look worse over the next couple days, we'll have a live stream tomorrow night. If not, we might not be live at all. It's just going to depend on what happens. So if you see category 2 in the forecast, we'll probably be live. If it's still category 1 level, I'm doubting we're going to be live. So that's my thinking at this point. Or I might go live no matter what. We'll see, because I might not have anything to do tomorrow night. Thank you, Devin, for the $5 super chat. Meteorologists in Houston are concerned about this storm. However, this has reminded me a lot of Tropical Storm Alicia in 1983. I don't even know what that is. Again, I'm not a history person, but I mean, if I'm a meteorologist in Houston, which I'm not, if I was a meteorologist in Houston, I would also be concerned because of just the level of what this is going to bring. Doesn't matter what the category is, the storm surge is still going to be significant, and the flooding will also be significant. You know, Hurricane Harvey wasn't even that crazy of a hurricane; it just sat there forever. So, I mean, that just dumped literally feet of rain everywhere. This isn't the same situation, but I'm just saying the category doesn't really matter at all. It really doesn't. I mean, it could be category 4 or category 1 and dump the same amount of rain. It could be a category 1 or category 4 and have similar storm surge too. I mean, it'll be probably more significant as a category 4 because the wind will be able to basically propel more storm surge, but you know what I mean? Like, the difference here is not that significant. A hurricane is a hurricane, and with what Beryl's done in the past and what it's expected to do in the future, I think that this is still going to be something that'll at least be significant enough for there to need to be that sort of worrisome for, you know, a meteorologist or even residents in the area. And there should be precautions being taken. If you're right along the coastline, you need to be taking evacuation orders seriously, no matter what the intensity is, because storm surge is still going to be significant, and flooding rains also, unfortunately, will be on the more significant side of things. Also, thank you, Sam, for becoming a Maximum Velocity member, and welcome to the Velocities. And thank you, Kitten, for the $2 super chat. San Antonio's not under any watches or warnings from what I know. And I don't think you'll be under any, to be honest. I think this is going to be too far to your east. I think you'll at least have gusty winds and some rain, but nothing out of the ordinary. It'll be close, but I just don't think there'll be anything crazy. Unless, again, it takes a very far westerly track towards San Antonio. If that happens, flooding threat would be huge there. But, again, it's a low chance. Any reason to be worried in Dallas? It's 50-50. Either we get a lot of rain, like 6+ inches of rain, or we get, like, nothing. So there is reason to be at least weather aware. I wouldn't say being worried, but at least be weather aware if you're in Dallas, Fort Worth. We either will, again, see a lot of rain or a little amount of rain in Dallas or anywhere in North Texas. It's going to be a big split because the hurricane, the rain is going to fall mostly around the eye once it gets up to that area. And so if the eye goes over here, the bulk of the rain is going to fall like right in there. And also obviously down here, but you know what I mean? Like just in that area at that time, it'll be mostly around the eye. If it goes towards Dallas, we'll see a lot of rain, but I'm not looking. I don't really think it's going to make land. I don't think it's going to make landfall far enough to the west for that to actually happen. When's it supposed to hit? This is supposed to make landfall Monday morning. The latest forecast is actually making this have landfall a little bit later now. It was originally expected to make landfall very early Monday morning. Now it's closer to like lunchtime. So a coverage stream on Monday is appearing more likely. Because initially, if it was at like 5 in the morning, I don't know how we'd be live for that, unless we did like a 12-hour stream. It depends more on the intensity. Obviously, if it was like a Cat 3+, we'd probably be live no matter what for a long time. If it's Cat 1, it's a bit more debatable, because, I mean, again, it would be pretty similar to what we saw in, like, Cancun, for example. So, other than it being slower, which would make it a bit worse. Thank you, Winding Creek, for the 5 gifted members. I appreciate that. If you got a gift of membership, make sure to thank Winding Creek in the chat. I do appreciate that. It's not even about the high pressure system. I mean, it has something to do with the high pressure system, but it also has more to do with the jet stream dip too. The jet stream dip is going to play more of a factor for speed, I think, more than anything, and intensity. If it grabs and latches onto the jet stream, this thing's going to go bazooka when it comes to just tornado threat inland. But if it doesn't latch onto that, we could be talking about a major flooding event in Texas, because it will probably slow down quite a bit. What about Austin? Same thing as San Antonio. I just talked about San Antonio, so same thing. Go back a few minutes in the live stream. Literally the same details. Will it slow down while it's over water at any point? I mean, it's going to continue to slow down gradually, but not by, like, a lot. It'll just gradually slow down as it moves to the northwest. The gritty? Oh yeah, I forgot. We have to do a gritty, don't we? We might just make this a flat-out 2-hour live stream, because we're already at 146. Probably get to 14 more minutes. I don't know. I was thinking about it. Do you think you'll chase this? I'm not chasing this. I'd be doing coverage. but I'm not chasing it. I believe Connor Croft is chasing it. I think Stormrunner Media will also be chasing it. I don't know 100%, but I'm pretty sure they will be. Do I have Riz? No. Not at all. I don't think Corpus Christi is going to have much of a risk for tornadoes. I'd be more concerned about the impacts that an eye wall would bring, which would be high winds, storm surge, flooding rains. I'm not concerned about tornadoes there, really. Unless it tracks way over here for some reason. Like, the hurricane, wherever it tracks, if it tracks right in the dead center, the tornado threat's going to be over here. Maybe a little bit up here to the north, too. But it's going to be more to the north and east of the eye. It's not going to be over to the west. Because the storms are going to be going north to south. Reedwell, too. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of storm chasers out there. There's going to be a ton. Thank you, Whining Creek, for the $15 super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in. Why does it already look like it's north of the cone? There's some tilting happening. They mentioned it in the latest discussion. There's just tilting happening, so it looks off-centered, but it's actually here. It's a pretty volatile environment right now. There's a lot of shear, cold ocean waters as well, or at least colder than it's used to. So there's naturally going to be that appearance on infrared imagery, probably for the next 12 hours. It'll probably look a little bit better tomorrow. I chase leaf natives. Wow, that's exciting. Beryl is not a hurricane. It says it at the top too. We had to make graphics for this being a tropical storm. Literally. I had to prepare these last second. It's not a hurricane anymore. We didn't have tropical storm Beryl graphics initially. But again, if you are new to the channel, subscribe, like the stream as well. We'll, again, have more live updates probably in the next few days as we get closer to landfall. Yeah, I don't know if we'll be live tomorrow. I still don't really know. We'll probably have a last-minute decision on that. No problem, Linda. Appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you if you ride this hurricane out, honestly. Just be vigilant. If you're under evacuation orders, obviously evacuate. It's not safe if you're having those sorts of orders because of storm surge or something else, but, you know, if you're in, like, Austin or something, I think you're fine. I mean, just, obviously, flooding's a possibility if it goes that far to the west, but we'll see. I'm not gonna, I mean, I'll be live Sunday. I'll be at least live one of the next 2 days. I don't know if I'll be live tomorrow. It's highly likely I'll be live Sunday because it will be a day from landfall or sooner than that. So, if I don't go live Sunday, then Houston, we have a problem, literally. Because, I mean, I should be live Sunday no matter what. Tomorrow is a bit more questionable. I should totally take over the stream tomorrow. How about no? I'm not letting somebody else stream on my channel. No, thank you. Doesn't matter who you are. I don't have a trust level for that. Like, at all. Will there be water spouts? I mean, there were probably water spouts when this was back over near the Lesser Antilles, honestly. Big shift? Yeah, this isn't shocking, though, to me. I mean, some of you might be shocked by the shift. I'm really not. I mean, again, I've been talking, I'm not, like, trying to brag or anything, but we've literally been talking about this for, like, 4 days. Like, this was something that I foreseed 4 days ago. Or even 5 days ago. Whenever we start talking about it near the Lesser Antilles. Like, this does not shock me whatsoever. So, I kind of figured this would happen. With how Beryl has been for literally the last 5 days and how intense it's been, with it wobbling more to the north gradually here over the last couple days, my confidence just kept increasing on a Texas landfall. Came back here because you called it. Knew I could count on you. Appreciate that. I've been forecasting hurricanes for about 5 years. Experience helps with this sort of stuff. Now, again, could it have gone towards Mexico? I mean, it could still, obviously. It could still go towards, like, North Mexico. But, like, you know, initially, like, the cone was down over closer, like, here. And a lot of models are bringing it here, which I just didn't buy with the current, with the forecasted environment and steering factors and all that. What about the workers on the oil platforms? I don't honestly know what they do in this situation. I don't know what they do. That's a scary job, though, to have during this sort of event. We actually initially had a buoy with pictures of the waves and stuff, but I don't think we do anymore. Well, we do, but it's nighttime. Should have done that earlier. New icon model shows direct landfall in Houston. Yeah, I haven't looked at that, but I'm pretty sure it showed that on the last run too. It showed a couple of runs in a row. I mean, we can just compare and contrast the two runs here. Let's just compare and contrast here. By the way, a lot of these models do take in data that is currently happening, so this is an interesting trend here. 06, we'll do 06 and 06. So this is right near landfall. The icon model has us going faster than any other model, I think, at this point. So, I mean, this has it making landfall late Sunday night. I don't think it's going to happen that late, or that, like, early, I mean, like, in terms of the time frame. But, a noticeable trend here, the icon model 6 hours ago had a 967 millibar system. The latest run has a 973 millibar hurricane, so a little bit weaker. Now, granted, is it really that big of a difference, one model? Well, not usually. If we go back to the 12Z, for the same exact time, it has this at 971, so it's fluctuating. It's not really like a set-in-stone sort of thing at this point. And it's, again, one model. It's not like, you know, every single model in the book here, but 980. I mean, I had it as actually a weaker hurricane. And actually, this is a little bit stronger than it was 18 hours ago, so... Go to the European model, too. The European model is pretty interesting. The European model, in my opinion, has been the craziest change by far. It has at 975 millibars. If we go back to the 12Z run, we're just going to compare and contrast these as well. This is 09, so we'll go to 09 here. European model actually had it rapidly intensifying on the 12Z run. We'll go to the 6Z as well. For the same exact time. Again, we're doing the same exact time for all these. And we're going to do one more for some good measure here. Because this is pretty interesting. The icon is like the NAM 3K for hurricanes. It basically is. NAM 3K for hurricanes goes like literally insane. So this was this was the Friday 00Z model run. So late last night, basically. 983 millibars. This is the run from 06Z. So these go by every 6 hours. So this is basically 12 hours ago, in a sense. 988, so again, notice it actually was weakening. Then the run that we had as of literally like 6 hours ago, or probably a little bit longer. It was actually, this was like 12 hours ago, but let's just say 6 hours ago. 965 millibars. So the difference run over run is absolutely insane. It's 23 millibars of a difference. And then the most recent run has it at 975, making landfall at 979, which again would be probably a category 2 hurricane. So, that's a pretty hefty difference. The GFS model hasn't loaded fully, but it shows it making landfall near Corpus Christi on the most recent run, which was 979. Lowest low I had was 880. Yeah, I mean, let's go to NAM 3K. Let's see what the NAM 3K has it doing. The NAM 3K actually has it making landfall in southern Texas, which is actually pretty funny. This is like the only model that I think I've seen recently that actually shows landfall down there. Wait, actually, there's a new run. Oh, let's check the new run. Oh, is it turning? Oh, wow. Look at that. Yeah, the NAM 3K. Again, this is an outlier. The NAM 3K is not good for forecasting hurricanes. If you see somebody post this, I would unfollow, because this stuff is just ridiculous. This is not... If this happens, that'd be insane. But 928 millibars. Like, that's Cat 5. Let's look at the wind gusts real quick. Again, this is not a forecast. Just letting you know. By any means, this is not a forecast. It shows 140 mile per hour wind gust plus. So... The NAM3K, again, is not for forecasting hurricanes. I will say it once, and I'll say it again. Do not forecast hurricanes with the NAM3K model. If I see a post on Twitter tonight that has the NAM3K model on it, I am blocking that person. Like, literally, I'll block them immediately. Because it is the... I mean, there are so many people that post it. Like, there'll probably be a caption that literally says, what? Like, it'll be, like, the most... It'll literally say this. Like, what? Somebody's gonna post it like that tonight. How about the NAM model? The basic NAM model. I'm curious about this one. The normal NAM model has a 977. Check out the HRR model. don't think it's actually has fully come in. The HRRR model run does not have even a hurricane here. It has like a little tropical depression. It's actually shocking. The I don't usually use the NAM model for tropics. I think I did when Ian happened. This is actually pretty shocking. The NAM model has this just weakening entirely. I mean, some of the short-term cams just have nothing, or they have everything. There's really no in between. The HRW model. The HRW has this going kind of crazy too. It's like no in between. I don't even know if I want to look at the RRFS. The RRFS is like a prototype model. Actually, it kind of is. It's a bit realistic. That's actually pretty realistic. I'm gonna try one more of these. This one doesn't go far enough. I've never used NSSL models. I've never heard of them up until now. It's gonna be dry in South Texas. Yeah, probably. It's typical for Texas. Even if you're in the track of a hurricane, probably still gonna be dry. All right, let's check out this model real quick. Yeah, none of this is forecast. We're just kind of looking around for, I guess, giggles at this point. I can already see the 900 millibar Category 6 TikToks. I bet somebody that's watching the stream is on TikTok, and they're probably going to post that model run now that I've showed it. This is the HAFS-A model. I've never used these really either for hurricane forecasting, but this one shows it as just a normal tropical storm upon landfall. I don't really buy some of these though. I mean, 981 on the HAFS-B model run. I mean, again, these are just model runs. None of this is a forecast. I'm just letting you know, like, some of these, I don't know. I don't love some of these models. The HWRF model, honestly, is probably one of the best ones. And it shows it as a stronger Category 2 hurricane upon landfall in Texas. So, this particular model would make more sense to me. But we'll see. Again, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next few days in terms of intensity and all that. Obviously, we are still in the early going of this being in the Gulf of Mexico. This just started, literally. It literally just entered the Gulf. So we still have some time until landfall. Obviously, it's expected to make landfall Monday morning. So if you are in Texas, especially along the coastline, start to take the proper precautions. Again, a Category 5 hurricane is not in the forecast. A Category 3 or 4 are also not in the forecast right now. Category 2, for what it's worth, is not in the forecast either, but it is a possibility that this does get to at least a low-end Category 2. It could get to a Category 3 if it does rapidly intensify. And again, if you have questions about what to expect, just go back to the very beginning of this live stream. Start it from the first minute. We talk for the first 15 to 20 minutes about all the possibilities and what I think will happen. Because what we've just talked about in the last 10 minutes was just a lot of looking at models, not anything of that. None of that was actually a forecast. So just letting you know a little bit ahead of time. If you have questions, highly recommend going back to the beginning of this forecast. And if you have any questions after that, put a comment and I'll try to hopefully get back to at least a couple of them. But no guarantees because I'm extremely busy nowadays. But obviously, if you are watching us on Facebook, make sure to follow our page. Like the stream if you enjoyed it. It does help out the page. Share this with your friends and family too if they have any questions. I do appreciate over 600 of you guys liking it on Facebook and over 179 shares. If you have any friends or family in the path, I recommend at least sharing this with them. And if you're on YouTube, you can do the same. And if you want to support the page above and beyond, there are links in the description on both platforms. And Hey, James, are you really trying to get blocked right now? There ain't no shot. The first thing that is in my feed right now on Twitter. The NAM 3K model. I mean, seriously. Ain't no way. Alright. It's gonna end up in Beaumont. If it ends up in Beaumont, that'd also probably be worst case scenario. That would give it so much time to intensify. Alrighty, well, that's going to do it for today's stream. I do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you're new to our Facebook page or YouTube, subscribe, follow the page. It helps out the page a lot, and we'll keep you posted with the latest on Hurricane Beryl. We'll have updates on Facebook and Twitter, so follow us on those platforms. The links are in the description down below if you're on YouTube. Twitter and Facebook, at Max Velocity WX. We'll continue to post frequent updates as needed. And if you're new to the channel, again, subscribe, like the stream. you enjoyed the stream today and you want to support the page above and beyond, you can become a member on YouTube for as little as $2.99 a month. It is the top link in the description, or one of the top links. Also, if you want to pick up our gritty or dance sticker on shopmaxvelocity.net, if you're on YouTube, it is the link that's pinned in the chat. It is also the link that is pinned at the top of the description. Again, this is just released now, so if you want to check it out, you can check it out there. That link will only send it to you there unless you go to like the products page, because it's not like actually pinned on the front page of the store, so just letting you know. But again, shopmaxvelocity.net, also if you're on Facebook and want to pick that up or check it out. All right, appreciate you guys all tuning in. I'm gonna save my voice. Hopefully I don't lose my voice tomorrow, because it's kind of out of whack right now. We'll be back tomorrow, possibly for a live stream, no guarantees, but I will have a video no matter what basically tomorrow. And then Sunday live stream is expected, unless this just dies into nothing, which is not right now in the forecast. All right, so yeah, that's what we're looking at right now. But do appreciate you guys all tuning in. Have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you guys all again in the next one. See you guys later.